Have no fear, Stephen A. Smith is here to save the Dallas Cowboys. Or at least he thinks he has an idea that can save the 3-6 Cowboys from continuing to spiral in the future. Smith thinks it's too late for the Cowboys to rebound and salvage the current season, but he has what he thinks is a brilliant idea to turn things around in Dallas. Smith shared his idea on Monday's edition of First Take, which involved tanking for the rest of the year so they can land the number 1 overall pick and take Colorado's Shedeur Sanders, and then to top it all off, hire Deion Sanders to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys certainly aren't going anywhere this year. They're 3-6, and Dak Prescott is done for the year. The defense is comically bad. Jerry Jones is screaming about the sun. And that kind of year for the Cowboys, a team that many had at least making the playoffs. There's no doubt that McCarthy will be fired at some point in the next month and a half, and then the Cowboys will indeed have to find its next head coach. As far as landing the top pick in the draft goes, that's easier said than done, as there are a lot of bad football teams aside from the Cowboys. They'll have competition for the top pick in the draft, and even if they were to land the top pick, they just signed Prescott to a hefty contract in the offseason. Getting out of that wouldn't be an easy task. Another thing to note here is that while Coach Prime has put together a nice year at Colorado, taking the next step to the NFL would be a massive one. Throwing his son on his team's roster too would cause for a lot of drama too if his son struggled or Jerry Jones wanted to make a change at the position. So this is a situation that the Cowboys should stay far away from. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think this is a good idea or just some really stupid idea from Stephen A. Smith? Let me know. And before we move on, give us a thumbs up if you like our video. Hit that subscribe button down below. Yeah, I'm talking to you people that aren't subscribed to the Big D Breakdown Show. See that subscribe button down below? Yeah, smack it. Hit it. And hit the bell notification button to be notified for future videos. And damning Mike Zimmer revelation will have Cowboy fans missing Dan Quinn. It wasn't long ago that Dallas Cowboy fans celebrated the hire of Mike Zimmer as defensive coordinator. Zimmer's scheme, versatility, and demand for accountability was viewed as a needed conversion from Dan Quinn's player-friendly philosophy. While there are still 8 games left in the Cowboys season, it's hard to deny that the Zimmer experiment has been a failure. Now, in defense of Zimmer, the defense has been ravaged by injuries. Additionally, the front office failed to equip him with serviceable interior defensive line play. Hard to execute a scheme and stop the run when your nose tackles are getting blown off the ball on most snaps. With all of that said, the defense wasn't clicking on all cylinders before injuries entered the picture. While Zimmer has dodged accountability to the media, he's been outfoxed this season on multiple occasions. Some mistakes, though, are self-inflicted, like not catering to his players' strengths. One particular example may have Cowboy fans longing for the days when Dan Quinn, yes him, served as defensive coordinator. Donovan Wilson has been an easy target for Cowboy fans all season. Most of that criticism is warranted. He has 9 missed tackles, just 4 quarterback pressures, 1 sack, and a 58.8 player grade via PFF. However, it is Wilson's limitations in coverage been the biggest hindrance to the defense. Quinn recognized that Wilson is best suited getting downhill, whether it be blitzing or plugging the gaps against the run. For reasons that will never make sense, Zimmer has insisted on playing Wilson in coverage. Through 9 games, Wilson has played 202 snaps in the box compared to 261 as a free safety per PFF. In the previous 2 seasons, Wilson played more snaps in the box relative to free safety. That is indefensible, and Dallas's defense has suffered the consequences. Wilson has allowed 18 catches on 20 targets this season. His 90% completion rate allowed is dead last among 50 qualified safeties. He's allowed the 8 most yards, and his 137.5 passer rating allowed when targeted, 3rd worst. His 5 touchdowns allowed are the most at the position, and his 18 catches allowed are 2 off his career high with 8 games left to play. Those numbers, while damning, should not come as a surprise. Wilson is outmatched whenever he's lined up in coverage. While Wilson needs to take accountability, It is equally on Zimmer for asking him to do what he's never been good at. Why not limit Wilson's snaps and put Thomas, Marquise Bell, or Israel in coverage? It's hindered the defense all season, and Zimmer hasn't adjusted. Quinn drew the ire of Cowboy fans for not holding players accountable or making personnel changes. Not only is Zimmer up to Quinn's old tricks, but he doesn't have the takeaways and elite pass rush to show for it. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Zimmer need to go? Or should we stick with him? And what did you think of Zimmer as defensive coordinator? And what are your thoughts on and Dan Quinn was defensive coordinator? And now on to our next topic. Jerry Jones' latest take on the Cowboys running back, Ezekiel Elliott, is probably his worst yet. 2024 Dallas Cowboys feel cursed. While fluctuating play to week in week outside nose, ironically, caused by team owner Jerry Jones, are always prevalent with this team, the current iteration of the Cowboys feels more unserious than ever before. Despite the team's superstar receiver, CeeDee Lamb, pleading with ownership to install curtains during afternoon games, Jones tripled down during his Tuesday spot with 105.3 The Fan. Jones said that all the things the Cowboys need to improve, sunlight glare at AT&T Stadium is way down the list. It might be far down the list, but is also the easiest fix. Or is it? Many Cowboy fans want Ezekiel Elliott off the roster after he fumbled on the goal line in Sunday's blowout loss to the Eagles. Mind you, this came after Elliott didn't travel with the team to Atlanta after he missed a Friday meeting before Dallas played the Falcons. Jones was asked about Elliott on 105.3 The Fan and uttered perhaps his most ridiculous take yet on the 29-year-old running back. Despite an abundance of evidence to the contrary, Jones has been impressed by Elliott's performance. Jones also said the Cowboys are not living in the past with Zeke. Just two patently false statements from the Cowboys owner. Aside from pass protection, there is no benefit to playing Elliott. It's made so much worse by the fact that Rico Dowdle is having an objectively good season in his first year as the lead running back. According to Pro Football Focus, Rico is Dallas's highest graded player on offense. He is also 7th in the NFL in rushing success rate, ranking higher than prominent running backs like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Alvin Kamara. That is skewed by the fact that Rico only has 83 carries. Don't let Jones and the national media trick you into thinking there isn't a quality running back on the roster. Elliott doesn't have enough carries to qualify, but his 40.7% success rate would rank 32nd of 35 qualified running backs. He ranks 49th of 50 running backs with 3.2 yards per carry, 45th in PFF rushing grade, dead last with 2 missed tackles forced. That is the exact definition of living in the past. Elliott's relationship with ownership and the front office allows him to receive preferential treatment. He didn't sit out a single play after his goal line fumble on Sunday. In fact, Dallas called his number on the very next snap. That Elliott is still on the roster, let alone still seeing a handful of touches per game. It is a perfect summation of why the Cowboys are staring at a high draft pick in 2025. Jones is the biggest problem with the franchise, and that's not changing anytime soon. Now we're going to look at Ezekiel Elliott and 3 Cowboys who need to be benched after the loss to the Eagles. The Dallas Cowboys lost their 4th game in a row on Sunday, falling to Philly 34-6. In the first game without Prescott, the offense failed to score a touchdown. The defense showed signs of life in the first half, limiting the Eagles to 14 points and causing 2 turnovers. Unfortunately, it did not last. With the team now at 3-6, their season is unofficially over. With no signs of a playoff appearance on the horizon, the focus should now be shifting to evaluating talent for next season. That should mean benching players who have not performed up to par all season. While one of the players who stands out the most is running back Ezekiel Elliott, more of his teammates deserve to be on the bench after the loss. Elliott's second stint in Dallas has been a disaster. Running back received a hefty payday in 2019 before the season, but since then has been a shell of himself. Elliott only has rushed for 171 yards for the season and 2 touchdowns. He should have had his 3rd in the second quarter against Philly. Dallas trailed 7-3, but put together a 13-play drive. Cooper Rush looked the best he had all day to that point, hitting the Cowboys in the red zone. A first and goal on the 6-yard line, Elliott took the handoff, fumbled the ball right back to the Eagles, ending Dallas's drive. That drive wound up being the closest Dallas would get all game to scoring a touchdown. What had been steaming was the fact the team took Rico out and put Elliott in. Up to that point in the drive, he had been running the ball well and even had a 19-yard run on the drive. Out of the two, Rico has looked like the better back all season when he touches the ball. For Mike McCarthy to leave Elliott in and blow a huge opportunity to score, take the lead, one of the worst decisions he made on Sunday. Despite the coach's decision, Elliott has to hold onto the ball there. If he would have scored, momentum would have shifted to the Dallas sideline. Rush and offense would have had more confidence going forward. Instead, all the wind was taken out of their sails. On top of the disciplinary actions he received before the Falcons game, the fumble proved Elliott needed to be benched for the rest of the season. Rico has clearly shown he is the best running back option this team has and deserves the most amount of playing time. So now, 3 teammates who need to be benched following this loss. Number 3, Terrence Steele. It is time for the Cowboys to move on from Terrence Steele as their starting right tackle. Sunday's game against the Eagles was another example of how far he has fallen as a steady offensive lineman for this team. With the team down 28-6 in the third quarter, the game was all but lost. But everyone was still hoping to see something from this offense. What they got was a lineman producing a moment for NFL follies. Steele got beat bad on a rush by Bryce Huff, and Rush fumbled the ball. The play was already awful because the right tackle got beat bad again. Steele made it worse when he tried to run back to the ball and recover it. Instead, he stumbled all over the place and could not pick up the ball. It would not have mattered anyway because it was third down and Dallas was backed up in their own territory. Still, this play sums up Steele's 2024 season in microcosm. He has been one of the worst offensive linemen on the Cowboys, week in and week out. He seems unable to pick up any pass rush consistently against guys with great speed. Benching him would be the best move going forward. What makes this a solid idea is the steady play Team Richards showed against the Eagles. He was filling in for the rookie at left tackle because he was out with a neck injury. In his absence, Richards played well and even received praises from the coaches and Jerry Jones. The solution may be to start Richards at left tackle and move Tyler Guyton back to his natural position of right tackle, which he played at Oklahoma. Steele needs to be the odd man out. Because at this rate, Rush and Trey Lance will get banged around just as much as Prescott did. And number 2, Jalen Brooks. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys wide receivers have been practically non-existent this year. Jalen Brooks had another bad day against Philadelphia. He was targeted 4 times and had only 1 catch for 4 yards. He clearly is not providing anything to this offense. Brooks was taken by Dallas in the 7th round last year and only appeared in 6 games. Dallas keeping him on the active roster this year was a bit surprising considering Brandon Cooks and Jalen Tolbert are the 2nd and 3rd best receivers, along with the emergence of rookie and Flournoy. Of course, with Brooks on IR, Jalen has seen more action in the third receiver, or as the third receiver this offseason, or in this offense. However, he is clearly not making an impact and should be benched. That might happen based on what Dallas did at the trade deadline. Cowboys traded a 4th-round pick to the Panthers for Jonathan Mingo last week. The move was clearly made to improve a weak receiving room outside of Lamb and Jake Ferguson. While Mingo still has a lot to prove with his new team, he was drafted much higher than Brooks. Brandon comes back off of injured reserve, Jalen will most certainly be benched. The arrival of Mingo might also shove him down the depth chart. Dallas clearly wants to see what they have invested in Mingo, and it would be foolish of them not to play him in the back half of the season. All that being said, Jalen Brooks needs to go back to the bench, develop a lot more before he can think about playing consistently for the Cowboys. And at number 1, Kalen Carson. Rookie defensive back is clearly not ready to be a starter for this defense. Kalen has struggled since week 2, and Sunday's game against Philly was more proof. Instead of poor tackling, the defensive back found himself getting burned time and time again. A.J. Brown lined up against him most of the day and had his way with him, to say the least. Brown had 109 yards receiving, and 76 of them came from lining up against Carson. The worst came on a 44-yard deep shot where Carson clearly was beat on the play. It was not just Brown, but Jalen Hurts targeted Carson all game throwing the football. He has been a disappointment all season, filling in for Daron Bland. Carson could be a contributor for this team, but him lining up against the best of the best on the opposite side of Trayvon Diggs, not a good idea the rest of the season. In fact, he appeared to be benched during the Eagles game in favor of Israel. He might be a safety, but he has played corner for Dallas before during his career. Clearly, Mike Zimmer had seen enough that day, and it arguably stemmed from seeing him play all season. The Cowboys are hopeful that Bland can come back this year, but the process has been painfully slow. 21-day practice window opened a month ago, but he is still not ready to come back, and he thought the Eagles game would be his comeback. But fans will have to wait another week or more. Once Bland comes back, if he does, Carson should be benched. Dallas has not had a chance to see what their cornerback tandem of Diggs and Bland is capable of all year. They want to evaluate that moving forward. It makes no sense to keep playing the rookie who is struggling every week. This defense has plenty of other issues, but Carson is clearly a liability. And now, on to our next topic. Cowboys finally confirmed the brutal reality of Dak Prescott's hamstring injury. It was trending in this direction, and now it's official. Jerry Jones told 105.3 The Fan on Tuesday, quarterback Dak Prescott will undergo season-ending surgery on his hamstring. Prescott met with a specialist on Monday to get a final opinion on the injury. It was expected Prescott would be advised to undergo season-ending surgery, and that is unfortunately where we have landed. Prescott wanted to avoid going under the knife in order to return this season, but that seemed increasingly unlikely as more details about the injury were revealed. It's been learned that Prescott suffered a partial avulsion of his hamstring tendon, meaning part of the tendon tore off the bone. With the Cowboys sitting near the bottom of the NFC standings with a 3-6 record, surgery is without question the right decision. Again, this announcement was inevitable. If Prescott sought second, third, and fourth opinions, was a strong indicator he wouldn't return this season. Having said that, it is still stunning how this storyline has evolved. It initially looked in the Cowboys' Week 9 loss to the Falcons that Prescott was dealing with a hand injury. Fox broadcast showed him receiving treatment on the sideline, and his hand was extremely swollen. Little did we know that Prescott popped his hamstring near the end of the third quarter. Swiftly ruled out for the game, and the MRI was worse than Dallas initially feared. Before you could blink, Cowboy fans were Googling partial avulsion. Reality struck that quarterback 1 has a significant injury. If it's any silver lining, if there was ever a year for Prescott to undergo season-ending surgery, this season is it. Cowboys are a sad excuse of a football team right now. Even if Prescott stayed healthy, they would have struggled to win more than 8 games. The Packers currently hold the final wildcard spot with a 6-3 record. Cowboys are currently looking up at the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, Bears, Rams, and 49ers, respectively. Only the Saints, Panthers, and Giants have a worse record in the conference. If Sunday's loss to the Eagles was any indication, Dallas will struggle to win another game. They could flirt with a top 5 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft when all is said and done. Before we get too ahead of ourselves, the rest of the season should be about evaluating the young talent on the roster. Unfortunately, the front office hasn't given us any reason to believe they have any clue what's in the team's best interest. Let me know your thoughts on the topics we've covered in the comment section below. Give us a thumbs up if you like your video. Don't forget to subscribe. That bell notification button to be notified of future videos. Let me know if we missed any topics we should have covered. If there's anything you don't agree with that I've said, let me know in the comment section below. And of course, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a copy at buymeacoffee.com/thebigd. As always, your support helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring new hosts, be able to pay them, and take this show on the road. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.